A very good morning to everyone. I am G. Naresh from ECA section. This is the PPT of EMI subject. My concept video topic is about difference between analog and digital instruments. Let's get into the topic. Analog instrument. An analog instrument is the one which shows the result of the measurement either in the form of a wave or by the deflection of a pointer on the analog scale. Analog instrument works on the principle of electromagnetic induction, where they consist of a magnet, that is permanent magnet, and the coil through which the current flows. The common examples of analog instrument are analog multimeter and the analog ammeter, voltmeter, and the analog speedometer of a vehicle, etc. Digital instrument. A digital instrument is the type of measuring instrument which represents the output in the form of digits on a screen, LCD or LED. The working principle of the digital instrument is based on the binary number system, where the two binary digits 0 or 1, 0 represents low and 1 represents high, are used to denote two distinct values. The digital instruments are made of solid state devices such as diodes, transistors, MOSFETs, LEDs, etc. Some common examples of digital instruments of digital multimeter, digital ammeter and digital voltmeter, digital energy meters, speedometer, etc. Let's get into the difference between the analog instrument and digital instrument. On the basis of definition of the analog instrument is the type of instrument which works on the electromagnetic effect and produces the output of the analog form wave or a deflection of pointer is called as analog instrument. The type of instrument which consists of solid state components and shows the result in the digital form, digits on the screen, is called digital instrument. Construction of analog instrument is the construction of an analog instrument is simple and direct reading type, involves the use of magnet, permanent or electromagnetic, and a coil. Whereas when it comes to digital instrument, the construction of a digital instrument is little complex than analog instrument, as it uses electronics and converter circuit for analog to digital conversion and vice versa. When it comes to output, based on the output, the analog instrument shows the output by the deflection of the pointer on the dial or scale. In digital instruments shows the output on the digital display screen, has the text or a number, that is 0 or 1, and on the based on the instrumental conditions, the analog instrument can be used in any type of environmental condition, where the digital instrument involves electronic device which requires proper environmental conditions to function. Based on the moving parts, the analog instruments moving parts are present. There are no moving parts in the digital instruments. Change in the output. The analog instruments can show the change in the output by the movement of the pointer. So in some analog instruments, the output shows we see that the pointer deflects, like in the PMMC or altimeter, any analog altimeters, the pointer deflects, shows the output, and whereas in the digital instruments we just has a number like 0 or 1, high or low, etc. The digital instruments do not shows the change in the output quantity. So digital instrument do not show the particular change in the output quantity. Errors. With the analog instrument, there is a possibility of considerable observational error, like a parallax error. In analog instruments, some errors will present like parallax error and in the digital instruments. Hence this is more advanced one than the analog. So if this is errors will not present in the digital instrument. This is a clear output will present in the digital instruments. An effect of electronic noise. Analog instruments are more susceptible to the electronic noise. In analog instruments, the noise is a major problem because of the ages of the components, etc. In the digital instruments, less affected by the electronic noise. Hence, the major disadvantage of analog instrument is noise. So we are going for digital instruments to reduce these noises. Technology used. Based on the technology used, the analog instruments are uses continuous variations of the signal and records its waveforms, whereas the digital instruments uses the sampling techniques for the conversion of input signal into binary signal or the digital signal. The digital instruments uses sampling techniques where the analog is converted into digital and the signal input is converted into the binary form, etc. And the time based on the time needed for the reading of the output. In analog instruments, the time required to observe the output is more. So we have to calculate, like in the CRO, in the analog CRO, we have to calculate the number of vertical boxes into volt per division and horizontal boxes into time per division. Like that, we have to calculate the voltage or time in the analog instruments. But whereas the digital instruments, the CRO itself and sends the output. Time in the time needed for reading the output in the digital instruments, the time required for observing the output is very less in case of digital. Hence, the digital instruments itself calculate the results and produces the outputs. Requirement of extra power supply. Analog instruments do not require extra power supply. Analog instruments need low power and has the extra power source of power is required in the digital instruments. Extra power source is required in the digital instruments, and based on the accuracy, analog instruments are less accurate and digital instruments are more accurate. Based on the sensitivity of the analog instrument is more and the sensitivity of the digital instruments are less. And the cost of the analog instrument is less, whereas the cost of the digital instruments is somewhat costlier than the analog instruments. The size of an analog instruments is normally larger than a digital instruments because it holds the ICs and etc. So the size of the analog instruments is more. Digital instruments are comparatively smaller than the analog instruments. Presence of display screen. Analog instruments do not use display screen like LCD, LED to show the output. Analog instruments will not have display. Hence they show by reflecting the needle, and in the digital instruments we have screen to show like LCD or LED screen. Like in the microprocessor we have LCD screen, and in the microcontroller also, so that when we press the instructions, the output is displayed on the screen. And the resolution, based on the resolution of analog instrument is less, and the resolution of the digital instruments is high. Examples. The examples of the analog instruments are permanent magnet moving coil, that is the galvanometer, and the needle tie speedometer of automobile, moving iron instrument, mercury thermometer, and old ammeter, voltmeter of analogs, and vehicle speedometer are the examples of the analog instruments. When it comes to digital instruments, the major examples of the digital instruments are digital multimeter, ammeter, voltmeter, clamp meter, and etc. Digital CRO, etc. Digital instruments. Conclusion: the most significant difference between analog and digital instrument is in their type of output method. An analog instrument shows the output by deflection of pointer on a scale, whereas a digital instrument shows the output on a digital display screen in the form of text or numbers, that is the binary number 0 or 1. Thank you.